Good morning. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me reading Granddaddy's Bible. We're going to be reading chapter 39 and 40, finishing up Exodus today, and we'll be starting Leviticus tomorrow. Chapter 39. All the ornaments of Aaron and his sons are made, and the whole work of the tabernacle is finished. And he made of violet and purple, scarlet and fine linen, the vestments for Aaron to wear when he ministered in the holy places, as the Lord commanded Moses. So he made an ephod of gold, violet, and purple, and scarlet twice dyed, and fine twisted linen, with embroidered work. And he cut thin plates of gold, and drew them small into threads, that they might be twisted with the woof of the aforesaid colors, and two borders, coupled one to the other, in the top on either side, and a girdle of the same colors, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He prepared also 2 onyx stones, fast set, and closed in gold, and graven by the art of a lapidary, with the names of the children of Israel. And he set them in the sides of the ephod, for a memorial of the children of Israel, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He made also a rational with embroidered work, according to the work of the ephod, of gold, violet, purple, and scarlet twice dyed, and fine twisted linen, 4 square, double of the measure of a span. And he set 4 rows of precious stones on it. In the first row was a sardius, a topaz, and emerald. In the second, a carbuncle, a sapphire, and a jasper. In the third, a ligurius, an agate, and an amethyst. In the fourth, a chrysolite, an onyx, and a beryl, set and enclosed in gold by their rows. And the 12 stones were engraved with the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, each one with its several name. And they made also in the rational little chains, linked one to another, of the purest gold, and 2 hooks as many rings of gold, and as many rings of gold. And they set the rings on either side of the rational, on which rings the 2 golden chains should hang, which they put into the hooks that stood out in the corners of the ephod. These, both before and behind, so answered one another, that the ephod and the rational were bound together, being fastened to the girdle, and strongly coupled with rings, which a violet fillet joined, lest they should flag loose, and be moved one from the other, as the Lord commanded Moses. They made also the tunic of the ephod of all of violet, and a hole for the head in the upper part at the middle, and a woven border round about the hole, and beneath of the feet pomegranates of violet, purple, scarlet, and fine twisted linen, and the little bells at the purest gold, which they put between the pomegranates at the bottom of the tunic round about. To wit, a bell of gold, and a pomegranate, wherewith the highest priest went adorned, when he discharged his ministry, as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made also fine linen tunics, with woven work, for Aaron and his sons, and mitres, with their little crowns of fine linen, and linen breeches of fine linen, and the girdle of fine twisted linen, violet, purple, and scarlet twice dyed, of embroidery work, as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made also the plate of sacred veneration, of the purest gold, and they wrote on it with the engraving of a lapidary, the holy of the Lord. And they fastened it to the mitre with a violet fillet, as the Lord had commanded Moses. So all the work of the tabernacle and of the roof of the testimony was finished. And the children of Israel did all things which the Lord had commanded Moses. And they offered the tabernacle, and the roof, and the whole furniture, the rings, the boards, the bars, the pillars, and their sockets, the cover of rams, skins dyed red, and the other cover of violet skins, the veil, the ark, the bars, and the proprietary, the table with the vessels thereof, and the loaves of proposition, the candlestick, the lamps, and the furniture of them with the oil, the altar of gold, and the ointment, and the incense of spices, and the hanging in the entry of the tabernacle, the altar of brass, the grate, the bars, the laver with the foot thereof, the hangings of the court, and the pillars with their sockets, the hanging in the entry of the court, and the little cords, and the pins thereof. Nothing was wanting of the vessels that were commanded to be made for the ministry of the tabernacle, and for the roof of the covenant. The vestments also, which the priests, to wit, Aaron and his sons, used in the sanctuary, the children of Israel offered as the Lord had commanded. And when Moses saw all things finished, he blessed them. Chapter 40. The tabernacle is commanded to be set up and anointed. God filleth it with his majesty. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, The first month, the first day of the month, thou shalt set up the tabernacle of the testimony, and shalt put the ark in it, and shalt let down to the veil before it. And shall let down the veil before it. And thou shalt bring in the table, and set upon it the things that are commanded according to the right. The candlestick shall stand with its lamps, the altar of gold, whereon the incense is burnt before the ark of the testimony. Thou shalt put the hanging in the entry of the tabernacle, and before it the altar of holocaust, the laver between the altar and the tabernacle, and thou shalt fill it with water. And thou shalt encompass the court with hangings, and the entry thereof. And thou shalt take the oil of unction, and anoint the tabernacle with its vessels, that they may be sanctified, the altar of holocaust and all its vessels, the laver with its foot. Thou shalt consecrate all with the oil of unction, that they may be most holy. And thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tabernacle of the testimony, and having washed them with water, thou shalt put on them the holy vestments, that they may minister to me, and that the unction of them may prosper to an everlasting priesthood. And Moses did all that the Lord commanded. So in the first month of the second year, the first day of the month, the tabernacle was set up. And Moses reared it up, and placed the boards and the sockets and the bars, and set up the pillars, and spread the roof over the tabernacle, putting over it a cover as the Lord had commanded. And he put the testimony in the ark, thrusting bars underneath, and the oracle above. And when he had brought the ark into the tabernacle, he drew the veil before it, to fulfill the commandment of the Lord. And he set the table in the tabernacle of the testimony at the north side, without the veil, setting there in order the loaves of proposition, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He set the candlestick also in the tabernacle of the testimony, over against the table on the south side, placing the lamps in order according to the precept of the Lord. He set also the altar of gold under the roof of the testimony, over against the wall, the veil, and burnt upon it the incense of spices, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he put also the hanging in the entry of the tabernacle of the testimony, and the altar of holocaust, and the entry of the testimony, offering the holocaust and the sacrifices upon it as the Lord had commanded. And he set the laver between the tabernacle of the testimony and the altar, filling it with water. And Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and feet. When they went into the tabernacle of the covenant and went to the altar, the Lord had commanded, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he set up also the court round about the tabernacle and the altar, drawing the hanging in the entry thereof. After all things were perfected, the cloud covered the tabernacle of the testimony, and the glory of the Lord filled it. Neither could Moses go into the tabernacle of the covenant, the cloud covering all things, and the majesty of the Lord shining, for the cloud had covered all. If at any time the cloud removed from the tabernacle, the children of Israel went forward by their troops. If it hung over, they remained in the same place. For the cloud of the Lord hung over the tabernacle by day, and a fire by night, in the sight of all the children of Israel, throughout all their mansions. This concludes the book of Exodus. We'll start with the book of Leviticus tomorrow. Thank you for joining me reading Granddaddy's Bible. Please enjoy Mass at a Catholic church or a sermon at a Protestant church today and get some fellowship in. Have a wonderful week, week 5, 2024, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.